Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. Today will be a follow-up to yesterday's Bitcoin and XRP technical analysis with some final thoughts on a pattern I'm seeing in the Ethereum chart. So if you haven't watched yesterday's video, go ahead and check that out. And later today, I'll be doing a round 2 interview with Coach JV over at 3T Warrior Academy. We're going to be talking about some very important dates to look out for during the rest of this year. I've been spending countless hours lately doing Gematria and decoding to prepare all of you for the rest of this bull run. I will do everything in my power to get you on the right side of this wealth transfer. Remember, you're here for a reason. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. Make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious people to help grow this community. Also, I'm running a sale for my Mastermind course until the end of the month. So for those of you who want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course with the promo code in the pinned comment below for a discount. My email is in the description box to get in contact with me for access to the course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So we're starting out with the DXY as usual because this dollar index has been giving us a crystal ball into what happens with the cryptocurrencies. And we're seeing after yesterday's video, I drew this trend line live on the video and we've actually broken below it. And that's a change in structure. Again, I'm not really concerned with trend lines, but I do see their merit in Forex and in traditional stocks. That's typically where they work best, where the volatility is low. Now, since we're here in this sector with the dollar index, Forex, this is a pretty good sign that we are seeing a weakness in the DXY and we will be heading down to about the 236 level. So just something to consider here. Another thing would be the daily 21 exponential. So we're on the daily chart right now, and this orange moving average is the 21 EMA, the exponential moving average. A daily closure below that would be indicative of a trend reversal as well. So once we start seeing weakness below this 21 EMA, I would suspect that we're going to move down to the 236. Failure of the 236, and you would see a breakdown to this lower trend line, and it could happen pretty quickly. You could see right here, all the way from peak down to the bottom, we're looking at about 40 days. If we went from peak down to the bottom over here, we're looking at about the beginning of September, and the beginning of September makes so much sense because that would be around the transition into the Shemitah. So again, if this took a full 60 days, that would also be indicative of the full moon correction that we typically get with cryptos. And if you go back here to this peak over to this bottom, you can see that's around 64 days. So it would make a lot of sense actually if we saw this come back down into the new moon of around the September or in the middle of the new moon into the full moon. Again, Forex doesn't play a huge role with the moon cycles as much as crypto does, particularly Bitcoin. But this is just a side note of something where we've seen this pattern before where it takes about 40 to 60 days from getting rejected off this trend line, coming down to the lower trend line. And then the lower trend line aspect, that would be really interesting if we saw a break of that leading into the holiday time, because that's about the time that we see very bullish price action in crypto predominantly, but then also kind of be where the stock market starts to get overheated, and we would anticipate corrections moving into Q1 or Q2 of 2022. And that's in regards to the stock market and absolutely in regards to cryptocurrencies. So anyways, I'm looking for this to continue to the downside. What would be great is just a closure today below this trend line and below this blue moving average, which is the 13 exponential, and then eventually probably later this week seeing a closure below this 21 EMA, and then we would anticipate bullish momentum for all the cryptocurrencies because of that. Then we're going to move on to Bitcoin and see what's going on over here. So we saw yesterday in the video around the 9-minute and 30-second mark. Again, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, go ahead and watch it. Skip to about 9 minutes and 30 cents, and then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So I mentioned this while the price action was sitting around right here. I was uploading this video between the 4-hour chart of 8 a.m. into 12 Eastern Standard Time, and that was when Bitcoin was trading into the highs of the day. I uploaded the video right before the breakout, and then the breakout came up to about $40,500 with a noticeable rejection. Now, at 9 minutes and 30 seconds of yesterday's video, I was mentioning a retest of the 236. We actually perfectly came back and retested that level and went slightly below it. And what's really nice about us going below it is if you go over here and I remove these moving averages for 1 second, you could see the level that we perfectly backtested. It was right here, these June 29th highs. Now, that was really nice because the only other high we needed to break in the structure to confirm that we're in continuation would have been the highs of right here on the 15th of June, which was 41,400. So remember in yesterday's video, I was saying don't get excited. Don't get excited if you see Bitcoin pump because it's most likely a premature pump. And the same thing that got it up that high that quickly, which is mostly leverage, is the same thing that could bring it down just as fast. And if you look at it from a technical perspective, this was textbook. We saw the price come back all the way, getting support with multiple closures on the 4-hour chart above the 13 exponential moving average, back tested the 236 fib, back tested the previous highs in the structure, and then it has continued to the upside. Now, what I would suspect we're going to see, is probably a W breakout like this. Something where we actually get rejected off this neckline again and then come back down, and that could take a couple days to play out, so we just have to see how that goes. But for the most part, I don't want to spend too much time on the 4-hour. I am interested with this. So basically what happened was yesterday we got a daily close slightly below the 236 fib. It's not totally important, but what would be nice is, considering we have a 2-day closure tonight, it would be great to see a 2-day closure about where we're trading right now. So 38,000 or a little bit higher, that would get us above this 34 exponential moving average, and that would also start to reverse these moving averages. Now, I've talked about these moving averages before and how they've been in a bearish posture, and it looks like we're about to flip. So let me hide all the drawings to clear this up, and you can see what I mean. So you see how the blue is above the orange, which is above the red. So that's the 13, 21, 34. Again, I use Fibonacci numbers. And right here, when the correction started to happen, they all coiled up and then flipped the opposite direction. Now we have red above orange above blue. Bad. And we've seen that June 15th price action where we couldn't break out, what I was talking about a little bit earlier, that was actually a noticeable rejection off the 34. And now we've cleared all those moving averages, and you can see for the first time this 13 has cleared the 21, and now the 13 is about to clear the 34. That's a very bullish cross. So when you see on the daily the 13 exponential cross above the 34, that's a very good sign, because now these are all going to flip back into bullish posture, which would be blue above orange above red, just like I was mentioning before. Now, another thing we could talk about, which is really important, is we had the price action of yesterday actually trading above the 200 exponential, which is this green moving average. And we can see that that was another thing that we failed on June 15th, and we came back for a pretty nasty correction. Now, we've actually touched up and gotten above the 200 exponential today, and that would be a huge sign of continuation as well. But another thing you guys hear me talk about in my earlier videos back in, March, April, was this cross. We were actually seeing for a very extended period of time this white moving average below this yellow moving average. And ever since we flipped bearish where we saw it cross, again, that's pretty much in line with the other bearish cross I was just talking about with the exponential moving averages. You've seen how this has acted. It's been a very bearish and boring price structure. So what do we need to see for continuation? Well, one, getting daily closes above the 200 exponential would be incredible. Then you would see this flip by this yellow, which is the 8 simple moving average, going above this white moving average, which is the 55 simple moving average. That's a very bullish cross. Now let's go back to when that last happened. So you can see right here, this was last year, okay? Notice how this time last year of June all the way through to July, this white was above the yellow. Now let's go to today, the white being above the yellow. Then you see around the June, maybe July, right here. July 25th, you get a cross, and that cross leads to August highs, okay? Of course, we went right back down, but I've been mentioning that time and time again because it has to do with Rosh Hashanah and the Shemitah of 2021 into 2022, but that's a side note. What's more important here is this upcoming cross is really nice to see, and if we get this cross, which should be happening in like the next 2 or 3 days, it should happen before the end of the month, we'll be seeing this yellow cross above the white, which is bullish, and then eventually we want to see this yellow cross above this green moving average, the 200. The most bullish structure would be the yellow above the white and above these two greens. So this is the 200 simple. It's pretty high up there. I do suspect that next month Bitcoin will have the juice to surpass 44,500, but I don't know if all these moving averages will flip bullish the same way that I was just talking about the exponential moving averages, which are clearly about to flip into bullish posture. So that's just a little like side note. It's kind of technical again. Like I've been, discussing a lot of other things lately, not necessarily focused too much on moving averages. The reason why I haven't been harping on moving averages as much lately is because we had a massive liquidity event over here, and this amount of movement, as quick as it happened with this amount of money, it kind of makes these lagging indicators such as moving averages, it just distorts them, and it makes them very, very poor to use for technical analysis. And that's why this stuff, we all need to be able to like see that there's a bigger picture plan here. It's not just about the TA, it's also about combining numerology, astrology, and Gematria. So you could be able to figure out some of these other aspects along with using Wyckoff method. Been using Wyckoff method since the beginning in my course, which started in September of 2020. And again, this has been playing out really nicely because ever since we got this dump, I told everyone, suspect the amount of time we traded at this top will be the amount of time that we trade at this bottom before we get resolution. And again, since this breakout all the way to breakdown has been 100 days, then if we go from breakdown over to 100 days, that puts us sometime into September. So I think it could take even more than that. But again, that would make a lot of sense. That's how you properly use Wyckoff. A lot of people were calling for a spring in Wyckoff back here, and that was just because they just got into using Wyckoff method. And now they're about to be proven wrong because this is nothing like that. We aren't in a simple accumulation phase right now. We are in a reaccumulation phase. And the reaccumulation phase says that we're about to head into the automatic rally now, which is indicative of a bull trap, and that bull trap typically brings you down to something called the creek. Then the creek is a totally different conversation, and we'll talk about that later on, probably earlier in August. So anyways, these are the kind of short-term ideas here with the moving averages and how I'm using them. Again, we want to look out for these to all flip bullish, which would be this 13 above the 21 above the 34 in that order. And then eventually we would want to be seeing this 8 simple moving average crossing above the 55, and then a Bitcoin daily closure above the 200 EMA on the daily would be incredible. So until we see a daily closure above this level right here of 41,400, I'm not convinced that we're just going to keep rallying to the upside. We could actually come right back up to 41,000, get rejected again, and then come back to the 236 and trade like that for 3 or 4 days before we continue to the upside. But yesterday's video, when I made that call, when Bitcoin was sitting at these prices of around 38, before it went up to get the rejection at the lower high, followed by a retest of the 236 fib, that was a really good call. So we need to pay attention to this stuff. I mean, you guys know how I like to be focused on whatever the macro or micro importance is at the time. Now that we've surpassed that full moon, now it's all about being bullish. And if we're going to be bullish, we need to learn that there will always be back tests of previous levels to confirm them as support. Nothing just moves up in a straight line. And whenever something does move up in a straight line, it typically will cool off and stay cooled off while other things are moving. And a good example of that is Theta and T-Fuel. A couple days ago, Theta and T-Fuel were just raging to the upside while everything was boring. And then over the last 2 days, while everything else has been bullish, Theta and T-Fuel have been flat. Again, it all moves in harmony. Just because one crypto is doing good on one day, don't get excited because it'll probably just be boring while other cryptos are doing good after they catch up. It's all in synchronicity, especially when you're discussing the top 50 cryptocurrencies. So Before we move on to the XRP chart, go ahead and give this a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to our channel, trying to get to 13,000 subscribers before the end of the month. Much love to all of you in the wolf pack. So let's go on to the XRP chart, see what's going on. So this daily closure that we got yesterday was great because it was above the 21 exponential moving average. Again, the 21 exponential on a daily close for cryptos is really good. It's a sign of continuation to the upside. And you can see right here, we closed yesterday at 62 cents, and we're seeing that we're getting a very clean rejection at the 34 moving average. The same story applies to Bitcoin. We want to see this blue moving average cross above this orange, and then these all to flip bullish, because at this time, if I hide the drawings, you can see this is still in bearish mode with the red at the top. That's why I make the 34 red and why I made this blue, just because I know if red is at the top, that's bad or bearish. And of course, it's not good or bad. I'm just saying, like, in simplifying things and just quickly being able to look at a chart and take 5 seconds to be able to tell what's going on. I know that when we're on the daily and this blue is below the red, that means that we're not done in a corrective phase or a consolidation phase just yet. So we should be seeing this happen shortly, probably by the next week or so. We should see resolution in these exponential moving averages where the blue crosses above to the top, and that would be very nice to see. Another thing is the RSI and the daily. If you look at this number right here, it's sitting at 51. So we're in that bullish control zone. We're trading at bullish levels. Let's look at the 2-day, since that will be closing tonight. Again, the 2-day is still in bullish posture, which is really nice. Getting today's daily closure above this 13 exponential moving average would be the first time for XRP closing above the 13 EMA on the 2-day all the way back since the correction on May 17th. So that's another thing that could be pretty nice. Let's look at some of the other things that are going on, perhaps the 200s. Okay, this is great too. So you can see we actually today we're about to close above the 200 EMA. This what was a nice support before the recent dip we got, and that recent dip came right back to the 200 simple. And I've actually spoken to you guys about this before, how I was looking at this structure for what's to come. Pretty much what happened is this structure right here is exactly what we're seeing now. So if you pause the video, you could kind of see what's going on, where this light green and this yellow are kind of like tangoing together before we see some resolution, with the 55 being overhead. You could see that right there. And then it essentially blasted through the 55 and then started using it as a support. So that would be really bullish, because that would be indicative of a breakout for XRP above $1 and then starting to treat the 55, which is around $1, at a support. That'd be very, very nice to see. But essentially, if we go to the daily, we could get our resistance levels pretty quickly, and that will be this 76, 77 cent area, which is the 200 simple, 200 exponential, pretty much trading around there. That 76 number is very important, because in Gematria, Ripple equals 76, and we've used that number quite a bit to be able to determine price action. Now let's take these exponentials off really quickly and add our Bollinger Bands and see what's going on. So yeah, we need to get a daily closure above the Bollinger Bands for continuation, probably as step 1. So once we get that closure, followed with the exponential moving averages flipping into a bullish posture, that would give the juice to see a trend reversal. But until XRP can get a daily close above that 73, 74 cent level, and then ultimately above these 200s, it's going to be choppy sideways. We could see something like what just happened with Bitcoin, where it just comes up and then rejects and then holds a support level up here before getting above the 236. So getting above the 236 would be extremely bullish for XRP, and we would probably see a remember that cross I was just telling you about with the 55 right here and the 8 simple? That would be the moment where we get that once we see trading ranges heading towards 90 cents. So let's give this some time. Again, we're entering the new moon in, I believe it's the 8th of August. So it's the 8-8 date numerology, a very strong number. The 8 is the infinity symbol, or, and that's kind of where the connection to the number 18 in Hebrew comes from. Just a little side note, you have 1, which stands for the connection to source, and then you have the 8, which is infinity, aka infinite connection to source. It's very deep how these numbers have all these meanings to them. So let's go into the Ethereum chart, and we're going to see some things that are going on. One thing that's really nice, and actually I should turn off all of these drawings and just leave some of these indicators. So there's a W breakout in the making right here, and this W is very clean. Actually, let me go to another Ethereum chart, perhaps one that might be a little bit cleaner when I bring up some drawings. So you see this W breakout. This is very important. The neckline's sitting about this level of 2,400 if you just want to be, simple. And we're going to take a trend line. We're going to move it up from that wick down to this wick at the bottom, the one we got right there. And then I'm going to measure this. Let me turn off log scale, actually. That would be the better way to go about this. Then I'm going to move this up to above the neckline, sitting right here. And this gives you your breakout level around $3,100. Now this $3,100 level, I do suspect we could go a little bit higher, but here's the play, right? I think we need to get above this 1618. Once we get above it, back test the neckline like this, and then once we surpass the previous high wherever we go, when we get above the 1618, that's when we start heading towards that 3,100 level, and I think we will actually head to the 3,300 level because ETH in Gematria equals the 33, and we are about to enter the 33rd week of the year very soon. It's the 30th week of the year currently, and this would make total sense. Again, the all-time high for Ethereum happened on the 33rd week and 3rd day since Rosh Hashanah of 2020. And Rosh Hashanah is extremely important because we're about to enter a Shemitah, and the Shemitah will be on the 22 date numerology. So these repeat numbers are very important, and I could go off on a whim and say $3,300 Ethereum in the 33rd week of the year. That would be a very awesome prediction, but I don't want to do that because I just showed you the technical target, and the technical target tells me it will be 3,100 given that this breaks out bullish. Now, because we're moving into a new moon, that is what I suspect happening, between 3,000 conservatively to 3,100, and then the bullish move would be 3,300 because of the tie to Gematria. So anyways, if you guys were interested in my mastermind course sale, you can learn how I do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria. The sale will be live until the end of this month. The promo code is in the pinned comment, and my email is in the description box to get in contact with me for access to the course. Later today, I will be having a round 2 interview with 3T Warrior Academy. It will be at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and it will be live on his channel. Looking forward to having some of you guys join and meeting some more of Coach JV's people. And I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.